about the secularization of America is a lie. The story you were taught, that science and reason slowly, naturally won the cultural argument, that's not what happened. What happened was a cover-up, the biggest in American history, and we can prove it. There is a document in the National Archives that blows the whole thing wide open. Microfilm publication M1078, Record Group 338, Reel 1, a memo, July 28, 1945. Lieutenant Robert W. Mapes to Lieutenant Colonel Mize, 7 weeks after Germany's surrender. The subject, why no one was going to be prosecuted for the murders of 15,000 mentally and physically disabled Germans at the Hadamar Killing Center. The history books say the reason was jurisdictional. No legal framework existed to try Germans for crimes against Germans. That explanation is in peer-reviewed scholarship. It has been the accepted account for decades. It is not what the document says. A retired history teacher read the actual letter. Not a summary, not a citation, the letter. And it didn't say what the history books claimed it said. It said the Nazi killing order was a valid legal defense. It said there wasn't enough evidence to prove the victims weren't mentally ill. So the murders were covered by Nazi law and the case was closed. Now we have to ask, why did the history books lie? Because the truth is explosive. The United States government looked at 15,000 murders and said the Nazis had a point. These people were probably incurably ill. The killing order probably covered them. That is not a jurisdictional technicality. That is the United States endorsing Nazi science. No historian wanted to write that sentence because much of that science had originated in the United States. The Nazis had learned much from America. One historian has said that by the 1920s, the United States was the world's most eugenic nation. America already had a forced sterilization program. And we will never know how close America came to having its own forced euthanasia program. The idea was promoted in the pages of the New York Times by a Harvard academic in 1941. Scientific materialism had walked this country to the edge of the cliff from which the Nazis plunged the world into darkness. Hadamar was the full-grown tree. America was the seedling. Same roots, same direction. Secularists could not let Americans see that because the mirror doesn't lie. And what it showed was that the ideology behind the gas chamber at Hadamar was not foreign. It was homegrown. So how did they keep Americans from seeing the truth in 1945? 5 methods. 40 years of silence before anyone dared tell the truth. First, academia said nothing. For decades, not a single book examining the role of science in the Holocaust. Not one. The silence was not an accident. It was a decision. Second, they built a firewall. One book, published in 1944, invented a scapegoat called social Darwinism. Suddenly, the Nazis weren't Darwinists. They were social Darwinists. An invented distinction that put Darwin beyond the reach of blame forever. Walk into any college history classroom in America today, and they will still refer to Darwinian atrocities as social Darwinism. In this way, they continue to protect science from the stain of Nazi mass murder. Third, they rigged the trials. We have already examined the decision not to prosecute the 15,000 euthanasia killings at Hadamar. The effect of that decision was to bury the scientific and eugenic roots of those murders before the first major war crimes trial on German soil ever opened. Instead, Hadamar personnel were tried for the deaths of 476 Polish and Soviet workers. The science never came up. At Nuremberg, the pattern held. The Darwinian ideology behind the killings never saw a courtroom. Prosecutors never asked the one question that mattered most. Where did this ideology come from? Fourth, Nazi euthanasia was deliberately treated as something separate from the Holocaust, kept at arm's length from the larger history. Because the moment you examine it on its own terms, the scientific roots of Nazi atrocities are impossible to hide. Fifth, they locked up the films. Hundreds of Nazi propaganda films. Many of these films explicitly using Darwinian language to justify mass murder were restricted from public view after the war. 5 methods, 40 years of silence, and the firewall they built in 1944 is still doing its job today. This cover-up did not just rewrite history, it reshaped America. It accelerated the abandonment of this nation's Christian foundations. And the cost has not just been measured in the direction of a country, it has been measured in individual souls. Untold millions were told it was safe to live without God, that science had the answers. That faith was a relic, no longer needed in the modern world. Countless millions only learned the truth when it was too late, after they had stepped out into eternity without Christ. The full story, 30 years of research, every source documented, every conclusion drawn from mainstream academic admissions, is in the report. The greatest cover-up in American history. Everything you think you know about the secularization of America is a lie. See the proof for yourself at greatestcoverup.info.